2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast.
What's up, guys? All right. Boy, my computer's felt like not wanting to work last minute. We got everything up and going here. Hang tight. Program about ready to start in just a couple of minutes here. Let's have some fun today. Let's wrap up the week. Come on, man. Hang tight.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Shoot it down, baby! Shoot it down! What the heck are we doing in this country when we allow the Chinese just to randomly have something float across our skies, checking us out, doing our thing? I know that we're surveilled on a daily basis, but come on, man. How hard can it be to say, you know what, China is gathering information, they're not our ally, we do business with them, and we probably should start, limiting the amount of stuff that we do with them. Anyways, but the weather balloon / spy balloon continues to float across the U.S. as we figure out how the hell we're going to handle it instead of a very easy decision to be made here. What a mess. Welcome into the program. What's up? It's a Friday. We got a lot to get to today. Broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you watch or listen or hang out to us here on the show, welcome. We love you to death. Your Millennial General reporting for duty like we do every single day. Loaded show for you today. We got an interview we'll play here in just a moment. As we doubled up today, again, wrapping up the program. We've done that a lot this week. Normally, we only have one guest today, but this week we've had a lot of days where we've had two, just because there's so much going on and we want to talk to as many people as possible. Bottom of the hour, we have Simone Collins. She is the co-author, her and her husband are author of the book, The Pragmatic's Guide to Crafting Religion. As we see the world population slowly beginning to decrease, less families having children, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Especially in Western civilization and the ongoing quote-unquote wokeness. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit because, by golly, they want us to not continue to have a population. And does this fall in line with different studies scientifically that we've seen and experimented on throughout the years as well? So we'll talk with her about the book, The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion. We'll have that here in just a little bit. Also, of course, we have the record number of job growth here in the country under the Biden administration, the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, right? Is it true? They say it's great while the economy's slowly working its way up. Here's the weird part. The Labor Department's Bureau of Labor Statistics says that 517,000 non-farm jobs are created for the month of January, above the estimates of 183,000. We more than doubled the amount of jobs for the month than what we was expecting, with a lot of them being gained in leisure and hospitality, professional and business services. Employment also increased in the government by almost 74,000, partially reflecting from the return of workers from a certain strike. So let me get this straight. We had strikes going on across the nation. They're going back to work. That's considered job growth. At the same time, we're still recovering from COVID, where the industries that are gaining right now are the industries that have still been struggling with prior to COVID-19. And yet, they say that it's job growth, and they applaud the Biden administration for growing that, while every economic expert out there is telling you a recession is about to happen. What a joke. What a mess. We'll talk about it in length here in just a little bit. But I want to get to our guest here for the first part of the program as we get into our latest and what's trending.
What's trending today?
As we kick off the program today from a good friend down in the state of Oklahoma, just south of where we're based out of here in Wichita, Kansas. He is the U.S. Senator from the state of Oklahoma and a member of the Intelligence Committee in the Senate. It's U.S. Senator James Lankford back on the program as he sat down with us just yesterday here on The Voice of Reason, and this is what he had to say. Senator, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, actually. Doing very well, thank you.
Good. It's always good to chat with you. You're actually coming out right out of the gate this morning from the National Prayer Breakfast. How'd that go this morning?
That actually went very well, actually. So once a year, House, Senate, the President, and the Vice President all get together for a prayer time. This happened for the last 71 years, actually, and it's a gathering time. It's just a good reset moment. Quite frankly, a lot of nations don't do this, but I think we do have a tremendous impact from just gathering together to be able to pray together and be encouraged. And it was a really sweet time, both worship, but also a good time of refreshing to say, hey, you know, Jesus was serious when he said, pray for those who persecute you and love your neighbor as yourself, and how can we be reconciled? Those are biblical principles, and though we have strong disagreements, they can't get into personal attacks.
Yeah, well, good. At least it's one of those times, very few and far between in Washington, D.C. and across the nation, but it's one of those few times where maybe we can actually come together and find some common ground.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. Well, hopefully we find common ground to say we need God's help. Hopefully no one's arrogant enough to say I'm smarter than God.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope for sure. So good. I'm glad. There's a lot of stuff going on in D.C. Obviously, let's hit the big one first. It's been the discussion over the last day or so. We've seen Kevin McCarthy and the president talk about the debt ceiling. Obviously, you coming from the Senate, a little bit more difficult with the Democrat majority still there, but you guys have been working on a bill with the Government Shutdown Act, or the prevention of that, because, I mean, we don't want the government to shut down. At the same time, I have to say I'm sure that a lot of people are frustrated. They do not want to see another debt ceiling raised without at least some substantial cuts in the government and getting things back under the control. Where's the conversation looks and stand right now in the U.S. Senate?
So we've got several months to be able to work through this, but that doesn't mean we should delay it. We should be talking about it every day as we are right now. That's a good thing, and frankly, I like the fact that we now have a national conversation about debt and deficit. We talk about this as an office year after year after year, and a lot of times no one else is talking about it. And it's very frustrating to me to think, okay, we all should be talking about this. We are. We're now all talking about it. That's a good thing. So that's step one. Step two is all this conversation to say, well, we should just raise the debt ceiling and not have any negotiation on it. Just raise it, not change anything. And I don't think most of the American people would agree with that. But also the reason we have a debt ceiling vote at all, no other country does this but us, is so that we would talk about debt and deficit when we get to this moment. So the reason we have this vote at all is to talk about it. So we are actually having that conversation, say, how do we change the 10 years ago, we had $10 trillion in total debt. Now we have $31.5 trillion in total debt. We can see the acceleration that's occurring in debt right now. We can't just ignore that. So what I've been a proponent for all along is we've got to change the way we do budgeting. We've got to change the process on this. We can't fix it in a year. It's too massive. But we can't change the direction of what we're doing and pay more attention to this. So this is a structural change that I'm pushing for, to say the status quo's got to go. We've got to focus on what are we doing to be able to change it. One of the proposals we have is preventing government shutdowns, because a lot of bad bills get voted on because leaders will say, hey, we got to vote on this bill or we'll have a government shutdown, and everyone votes on a bad bill because we don't have a government shutdown. That's a terrible idea. We should take that off the table, keep negotiating, and let's actually focus on the things that around without this looming threat hanging over everyone's head.
Well, we have to. I mean, we're sitting right now, if we tried to pay off the entire debt right now, it would consume 100% of the GDP going into every man, woman, and child's business and home and trying to take every penny they have. That's unsustainable, and that's so drastically different from just 20 years ago where we had to cap it with our debt at 40% of our GDP. So just in a 20-year span here between both Republican and Democrat administrations, we've gone far beyond that, and they just want to raise it without any question. What boggles me is that the Biden administration says it's a non-starting point to even think about cuts, and then the media blames Republicans for not willing to negotiate to raise the debt ceiling. I find that quite interesting.
Yeah. Welcome to the national media. It's always the Republicans' fault, no matter what it is. If the president can step out and say something that most of the American people would think is irrational, ignore the national debt, just keep going, most people are not in that spot. But he can say that and get away with it. Republicans can say, hey, we need to talk about this and debate it, and that's a crazy thing to do. It's not a crazy thing to be able to talk about debt and deficit and determine how we get out of it. Now, everybody can point fingers in the past, and you're right, over multiple Republican and Democrat administrations to say it's not addressed. You'll remember in 2011, there was a big back and forth over the debt ceiling that led to what was called the Budget Control Act. It literally lowered spending for 2 years in a row. That was a negotiation President Obama had with the Republican House of Representatives to be able to negotiate how do we actually lower our spending, change that trajectory. That happened in 2011. I think what the Republican House is looking for is to say, let's sit down again and let's figure out how to be able to get this right. That didn't make a difference at that time, but it didn't solve the problem. Let's try to figure this out.
Yeah, I know that it's unrealistic now because Democrats still do control the Senate right now, and we have a Democrat presidency, but is there any opportunity to pass a bill that just says that, I mean, right now, we're looking at raising the debt ceiling up to, like I said, 130, 140% of the GDP. Can we cap it at 100% and say no matter what, even if we don't have a full-on budget because we have an omnibus package, you're never allowed to spend more than 100% of the GDP because that already is absurd, but at least we have to do something.
Yeah, we have to do something. Whether we could get that kind of proposal through a Democratic Senate and Democratic White House, I'd be very skeptical. They don't seem to be as concerned about the debt. They'll say, yes, it's a problem, but the response is always, as long as we're making payments, we're doing fine. That sounds like you're on the spiral to collapsing. That's the famous family that's got so much debt they're now using credit cards to buy groceries, and they realize that I can't keep making just the minimum payments. You never get caught up on those credit cards if you're making minimum payments ever. And so we're at that point now as a country. We've got to get serious about what are we going to do on spending, how we're going to handle our revenue, and then what is it we're not going to do, and what are we going to make sure that we do even better and more efficiently.
Wait a second, Senator. I only make $50,000. Why can't I have a $500,000 home? What's wrong with you? It's keeping the American dream away from me. Come on.
Yeah, I get that. We have, as a nation, definitely the jumbo mortgage of debt.
Yeah, exactly. Let's shift gears a little bit. The other big issue, obviously, has been immigration for a while. What's bothering me and drives me nuts is the fact that we have all these immigration laws on the books already. If we would just enforce them, we could clean up 80% of the problem going on at our southern borders right now. But it seems like everything's hanging on this Title 42 from the COVID pandemic in the Trump administration, and that's the big issue on whether we're going to repeal or keep on Title 42. What's the latest going on with the southern border right now?
Yeah, Title 42 was always intended to be temporary, always. It was just during the pandemic itself. The president has now announced that he's going to stop the emergency actions on pandemic by May the 11th. Great. You know, we should have been stopped a long time ago to be able to return us to a sense of normalcy on this. And so Title 42 goes away after May 11th because the pandemic emergency actions go away. But we still have a crisis at the border. What's funny is, to me, the Biden administration is saying, hey, we've taken some action, and we reduced January to 150,000-ish, somewhere through there, for 250,000. And so they're saying it's a massive change on that. That is a decline, but by the way, January is almost always a decline. In fact, I don't know a month that January doesn't go down during just the people illegally crossing the border. And 150,000 crossing the border in January is still higher than any single month during the Trump administration. So it's still out of control. We're in massive numbers there. Two things have got to happen. One, this administration has got to enforce the law, both deporting people that are illegally present in the country, especially those with criminal actions, or that the court has already stepped in and said they have what's called a final order of removal. You've got to go. Those people are not being deported out of our country right now. And so people that get into the country know, I'll never be deported. The second thing is this administration is going to enforce what's happening on our southern border and stop treating our Border Patrol like hotel check-in staff and actually allow them to be federal law enforcement, which is what they signed up for. That would make a huge difference. We also have to make some changes in our asylum law and to be able to clarify how that law should actually be implemented. Quite frankly, Canada did this 20 years ago, changed their asylum law, and it dramatically changed the direction of illegal immigration in Canada because their parliament actually took time to actually implement those things. We continue to be able to just debate it, and my Democratic colleagues don't want to make those changes, and it continues to accelerate a bad problem getting worse. If someone from anywhere in the world can just walk across the border and say, I want asylum, we're the only country that does that. So that's just a terrible idea. Literally, when I was in Arizona 3 weeks ago on the border, there were more people that had crossed the border in that block of Uzbekistan than there were from El Salvador. So we've got folks from all over the world that are illegally crossing this border, and if they can get across, they're in, and that's a problem.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us today for a Friday. It is a Friday, man. Thank goodness. TGIF. Welcome into it, getting you set for another weekend here. Thanks again to U.S. Senator James Lankford coming on the program. As usual, our recorded interviews went just a little bit longer than what we can air on the program. So after the program, we will be airing and posting the entire interview with U.S. Senator James Lankford, which I highly recommend that you listen to. Again, he is part of the Intelligence Committee, which means we have investigations. We need to get down to the bottom of certain things, and he is privy to certain information regarding UFOs. I'm just throwing that out there. So we do ask him a lot of questions about the Intelligence Committee, along with more issues regarding what's going on at the border as well. It is about double what we were able to air actually on the air. So if you want to hear it, you can go to the website at HooserReason.com. It has a link to the podcast there. Also, if you use any of the podcasting sites, Apple Music or Spotify or Amazon or TuneIn or whatever else that you use for your podcast, we are on there as well, on any of them at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. Find it, subscribe to it, listen to it. We've been punching out a lot of new content, not just with the show, but with additional interviews that we can't air on here, or just extended interviews we don't get a chance to air the full interview for, and you can find them all right there on the podcast. We appreciate his time very, very much. In just a little bit, we'll have Simone Collins on the program. We'll shift gears with her to talk about some interesting information coming up at the bottom of the hour. He mentioned something that is quite of interest to me, obviously, when we talk about budgetary issues and the debt ceiling, where we need to correct course. And that's kind of the term that I've heard from a lot of Republicans right now, is correcting course. We need to steer things the next direction and correct course. We're not going to do that with Democrats in control at all, especially running the Senate and especially running the presidency of the United States. We're not going to see a correcting of course. We're going to see them throw a temper tantrum like we saw with AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and all those yahoos yesterday after she got booted off of the Foreign Affairs Committee, that they're going to throw their temper tantrum when they don't get what they want. They are the absolute children throwing a temper tantrum because they should and demand to get everything that they want. Just as the media has reported, this debt ceiling crisis it is the radical Republican conservatives. The Republican extremists is what the mainstream media is calling us, because we say, wait a second, we're not going to just randomly sign off on a whim to raise the debt ceiling above 100% of the GDP, which we've never hit in our entire existence as a nation before. Now they're calling us the loonies and extremists for saying, wait a second, maybe we should think this through and think twice about this issue. So while we see this headline that the Biden administration's parading right now, that we're up at near 500,000 new jobs, 517,000 new jobs for non-farm jobs created in the month of January alone, you start to ask yourself, where are these jobs coming from? While everything is higher and more expensive, with inflation skyrocketing, food prices are out of control, small businesses can't afford to hire new individuals because it's too expensive right now. They can barely afford the product. They're trying to get it in and then try and push it out the door for the consumer. Where are these jobs being created? And the only thing I can think of, it has nothing to do with the growing economy and how great the economy is booming right now, because everybody's talking about a recession. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up, except for when you include one factor that no one's really thought about. Do you see, wherever you're at in whatever state you're in, do you still see the massive push from city, from county, from state government of government programs trying to find random ways to spend the rest of their COVID-19 relief funding? There's trillions of dollars the government spent, and when they couldn't figure out how to spend all of it, they're just randomly giving it away to the states and to the cities and to the counties and even to school boards, saying, hey, here's massive amounts of money. Do something with this because we've already allotted it to you, and now we have to give it to you or else we lose it. It's kind of the whole, which is a really stupid way to govern, is either use it or lose it. So therefore, we have to find a use for it. Here in Kansas, our government's trying to just randomly find new programs. We're going to give it away for utilities. We're going to give it to small businesses. We're going to give you a tax break. We're going to give you free goodies here, free goodies there. It's Oprah on a grand national scale. You get a free gift, and you get a free gift, and you get a free gift, because we have to figure out a way to spend this money.
Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, object in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but, the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That, plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit by no means. However, we talked about it, and I thought, our ancestors were so smart. They know, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Right.
dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. In everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's
Yeah.
that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
So it took me a half hour of the program to realize on our live video feeds that it's darker in the studio, and I kind of like the lighting it is right now. And then I realized I didn't turn on the lights in the studio. I have another studio next to me that has the lights on. Then we have a big window on my other side with light coming in. So it's lit up enough, but realized I didn't turn them on. Wow. It's a Friday. What can I say? Welcome into the program. Multiple radio stations all over the country, live streaming, podcasting, TV, however you watch or listen to the show. What's up? Trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time, which I do apologize for our generation on a very frequent basis. I want to get away from politics for just at least a little bit, as we wrap up for a Friday here. We have a lot more to get to. Again, if you missed part of our interview with U.S. Senator James Lankford out of the state of Oklahoma, we'll have that as an additional special feature podcast with the full-length interview as opposed to the clip that we had to air on the program here, because I am really excited to talk about this next topic on the program in our latest and What's Trending.
What's trending today?
And as I set the stage for our next guest here that I'll introduce in just a moment, and she very well may be aware of this experiment that I'm going to kind of lead up to and introduce the topic, which is perfect because of her latest book. Show of hands, how many people have seen or have heard of the experiment Universe 25? Where scientists, and they've done this in multiple different experiments, multiple different times, and it all ended the exact same way. Universe 25 was a world of mice that they studied, where they allowed the mice to reproduce, to create their governmental system, how they operated, and it was great, where the mice would multiply, they would expand, they would do what they do on a normal, natural basis. But then, about 300, 400 days into it, once they've populated and kind of maxed out their spaces, things begin to change a little bit, where their population would begin to decrease, where they would start seeing health issues. They would start seeing a hierarchy of those of the elite mice and the not-so-elite mice. They would start seeing the slowdown of reproduction to where they wouldn't even try to mate. There would be an increase of homosexuality within the colonizations. There would be an increase in cannibalism. There would be an increase of crime where they would attack one another and kill and eat one another until eventually they all died off because they could not reverse course, and the population of mice would completely die off. If you've never seen this experiment, I highly recommend that you do. And I've been saving this article for a long time, trying to find a way to break it into the show and talk about this, and this is the perfect time to do so with our latest guest, as she is the co-author of the book, The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion. Excited to have on the program with us here, Simone Collins. Simone, how are you today?
I am great, and I cannot believe you are referring to that study, because we totally talk about it in The Pragmatist Guide to Crafting Religion. It's such a deep cut, And, it may not be perfectly predictable, but it does have some very telling and chilling parallels to current societal problems. So it is a great example to present. Well done.
Well, like I said, I've been holding on to this for months, waiting for the right time to use this. So when I saw the opportunity to chat with you about it, it was perfect because we almost see a lot of those similarities. We're being told right now in society that we need to decrease population. We have China and other nations that are putting in, or I think China may have just released theirs, but they did have their one-child rule or two-child rule. We're talking about here the AOCs and the left wing on this politically in the country talk about how we need to start decreasing population because we're harming the environment and we're ruining and raping the earth of its resources. This is the mindset that we're being told right now, that our resources are stretched so thin that we cannot handle the current population, and as a result, we're seeing the decrease in population. But the question is, after multiple experiments like this, will we see the same outcome at the end of the day if we continue down this road?
Well, and what's disturbing to us when we look at this problem is if you really care about the environment in terms of long-term effects, a hard landing on demographic collapse, as we describe it, which is just, hey, let populations collapse as they're going, let things go as things are happening, is actually going to hurt environmental causes over the long run in a couple of ways, including, by eliminating from the population those who care about environmentalism because they aren't having kids. And yes, believe it or not, many traits beyond just height and eye color and things like that are heritable, including pro-sociality, including political affiliation. So what's interesting is, by choosing to eliminate themselves from the gene pool, essentially, these groups that really care about environmental causes are kind of setting things up for environmental disaster. It's very odd.
It is very odd. Have you heard of some of the, now this is, I guess, put on the tinfoil hat for a second here, kind of conspiratorial, but the Middle East has talked about at least creating these societies where it's real along the river, but it's built with walls to where you don't have to travel more than 15 minutes of a walk to go shopping, to go to your job, and then leave the rest of Earth, I guess, and the surrounding areas completely barren wasteland because we want nature to kind of take its course. Is this a realistic thing that's going on, and is it something that we should be concerned about when they talk about trying to control not only population, but the way that we live on the earth as well?
Hey, we're okay with anyone taking approaches that they think may or may not work. Our biggest concerns are, sorry, my 3-month-old is kind of joining the call too, but we're all about having kids here.
That's right.
What we're concerned about is, if we don't take an intentional approach to the future. So we love it when people have, let's design this new type of city-state. Let's design this new type of city or town or way of living. Great, let's do that. Yeah. But right now, we're headed to a future, for the most part, in which we aren't planning for a total change in the way that all of our economic and infrastructure and governmental systems work. And right now, they're all predicated on constant growth. Our pension funds are based on that. Social Security is based on that. The stock market is based on that. The way the city infrastructure is paid for is based on that. And if we just suddenly switch to declining populations, we're going to see the same kind of crumbling infrastructure that we see in Detroit. We're going to see the same kind of non-growing stock market that we see in Japan. So we have to prepare for these things. And also, very importantly, we have to protect cultures that right now are going to go extinct because they do not reproduce above repopulation rate, ranging from South Koreans to Jains.
That is a cause for concern, absolutely. We're talking with Simone Collins, co-author of the book, The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion, which is a series of the Pragmatist Guide as well, which you can find online at pragmatist.guide, and you can see all the different books on there. Is there a forced concern about the lowering of population globally, where we're seeing right now tons of articles every day about lower sperm count in men, lower fertility rates in women, where it's either vaccines or it's the food that we eat or the dietary habits that we have or the exercise habits that we have, that we're getting lazier and that we're seeing not just because the want to try and reproduce, but just the ability to do so because of the lowering fertility rates worldwide?
Yeah, this is a huge issue. And yeah, fertility is plummeting among men and women, and we're very concerned about it. And one of the big parts of our advocacy currently is to encourage more development and ideally making reprotech more affordable, be that IVF or PGPT, which allows you to select embryos based on polygenic risk scores that reduce odds of cancer, infertility, all sorts of problems. Because the more we can leverage technology to overcome these issues, the better. And also, people are just having kids later, which means they are going to have more complications. So we hope to make tech more available to those who want to use it to overcome this problem. It is a real problem.
That is a real problem. What kind of technology? You had mentioned that, and we've heard, individuals like Elon Musk mention certain technology, the Neuralink that he's working on. But what kind of technology is out there to try and assist in this area?
Yeah, so the baby you're hearing who's strapped to my chest right now, Titan Invictus, she was created through IVF. We selected her embryo based on polygenic risk scores. So now it is possible, instead of just getting a PGT-A test, which enabled parents to pick IVF babies based on gender, just making sure their embryos were eukaryotic, you can now select for basically polygenic risk scores related to types of cancers, schizophrenia, even things like the odds of developing severe anxiety or depression. So we were able to, among embryos that we created, look at the scores of these embryos, and we selected Titan over here, but based on her odds of experiencing different kinds of diseases. So, my mom died very young of ovarian cancer. We were able to look at Titan's cancer risks and try to sort of head these things off at the start. Plus, knowing your kid's polygenic risk scores enables you to raise a kid who knows that they need to go through cancer screenings earlier if they do have an elevated risk. Yeah. So even if you can't necessarily select embryos based on these scores, you can raise children to prepare for certain risks better than other people, which is great.
That is great. This is an entirely new world. I've never even heard of a lot of this stuff. I have heard the idea that we're moving towards the ability to, with these different embryos, to be able to even choose the skin color, to choose eye color, to choose hair color, to choose even personality. Is this the direction we're going here?
Oh, absolutely, and intelligence and all sorts of other fun and controversial things. You bet.
Wow, it's fascinating. We got just about a minute here before we have to take a hard break here. Where does this fall in? I guess for those for religious individuals or for those that kind of look at it the more traditional way, where does this fall in line here? And are you getting pushback from that?
No, we get pushback, but we're more allied than anything else. The important thing is we want to work with families to protect their culture in the face of rapid technological development that is very liable to wipe it out entirely. So what the Pragmatist Guide to Crafting Religion is largely about is not just helping secular people craft religions that help them, basically live lives with good mental health and have kids who pass on a good culture, but also to help people with religious traditions that have been around for thousands of years reinforce and protect those traditions from mimetic viruses today that are spreading and systematically erasing them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to take a break here. Can you stick over one more segment with us? Awesome. I love it. I love this conversation. Very fascinating. It's Simone Collins, author of the book, The Pragmatist Guide to Crafting Religion. Again, they have an entire series, which you can find at pragmatist.guide, and you can see all of their books, including The Pragmatist Guide to Life, The Guide to Crafting Religion, to Governance, to Relationships, and to Sexuality. You can see all those books on there. When we come back, I want to continue this conversation on what this could look like in the future as well, not just with the choosing of what your child may look like, but like you said, preserving culture, preserving tradition, preserving religion, and to continue to grow the population the way that it needs to. According to Elon Musk, we could double the world population and still be fine with the resources we have on the earth right now. We'll continue that conversation when we come back for a Friday's episode here of The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic.
It's the month of love, and Midwest Kia is...
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all of their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Welcome back into the program. I tell you, Fridays we love to have a little bit interesting conversations. We're definitely doing it today to wrap up your week. I want to remind you real quickly that Monday our newsletter will be coming out. We have our monthly newsletter that is completely free. If you've not signed up, go to the website at HooserReason.com. That's HOOSER Reason.com. No I in Hoosier. No I. HOOSER Reason.com. It'll come up and say, do you want to become a Hoosier-holic? You're like, yeah, totally. And you'll get that email on Monday morning. Also, you can read our blog. You'll see all the great content we have on there and a heck of a lot more. By the way, you can also follow our social media, all of it as well, at Hooser Reason as well. Right now, we're hanging out with Simone Collins, author of the book, The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion, as we talk about AI moving forward with technology and the population of the globe. As they say, we need to decrease that population, but is it really going to help us in some way, shape, or form as we go down that road, according to experiments that we've seen in the past done? Well, to rodents, but we can at least see the general idea is that when that happens, then we move in a very negative way and we start seeing self-destruction of the world. Simone, as you mentioned, kind of going into it, and you've already kind of referenced this a bit, that there's a fear of technology and the way it changes because sometimes we don't trust it. Personally, as the conservative guy that I am, I don't trust it when government controls it and they kind of control us, so I'm kind of a hands-off kind of guy. But at the same time, technology is going to change. It's going to evolve. It's going to get bigger and better, and we have to learn to adapt with it. But with the concerns of it, there's a concern of, let's just take a reference of Terminator in the future, of fighting against AI and technology because it's going to turn against us. You're saying that right now this is a way to try to integrate technology in benefiting the humankind, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we agree with, I think, both or all approaches to technology. So we personally, culturally, are very technophilic. However, we also argue in The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion that there are many cultures that literally, we say they're air-gapped, against the modern technology. Consider the Amish, for example, that are actually doing much better than many other cultures, right? They are able to maintain their high birth rates. They're able to maintain their culture, but only because they're totally opting out. So either you have to be very intentional about the way that you adopt and assimilate with technology. You need to leverage it so it doesn't leverage you, or you need to literally air gap yourself from it, cut yourself off from it entirely.
Sure. Yeah, one or the other, and sometimes I feel like I want to go that direction and cut myself off completely. Kind of hard to do in the media and radio industry, but it is nice to think about it. Yeah, a little bit. Real quickly, we got just a couple of minutes here, but talk about the rest of your books and your entire guide that you have with these multiple different books. What's the theme, and what do you guys work on in each one of these books?
Well, I think if you look back in the 1950s and 60s, you'll see these instructional videos like Cornet Films would make for high school, sort of teaching you basic life skills, very practical, very pragmatic, how to buy things for the economy, how to host a dinner party, how to manage a dating and marriage. And we've taken a very similar but modern and more technophilic approach with our Pragmatist's Guides to Life, Relationships, Religion, Sexuality, and Governance. How do you approach these from a very first principles approach, really without religion, with religion being the exception? We try to make our books as unbiased as possible. We basically say, here's the evidence we can see. And sometimes, yes, both academic but also more practical, because in some cases academia is pretty bankrupt in its research.
Yeah.
You make a decision for yourself what you want to believe and what you're going to do with this information. But it's really about practical takeaways from information. So not just theory, but what are you going to do about it and how is it going to help you?
I love that. The guides and tips to try and get you through life. My generation apparently needs a lot of those tips and tricks to be able to get through life. Relationship-wise, how do you think that relationships have changed over the years, especially with social media, online dating, as opposed to face-on-face? Do you think that the industry's changed quite a bit?
Absolutely. Dating markets are completely broken. To use an economic term, there's a serious market failure taking place. And now it's harder than ever to find a well-matched partner to end up married. And this is one of the key drivers behind collapsing birth rates in developed countries, especially like ours.
Very interesting. Simone, it is author of the book, The Pragmatist's Guide to Crafting Religion. You can find all of the books on the website at pragmatist.guide. Go and check it out. Fascinating stuff, and it's something I think we desperately need as we continue on to see the increased technology and the changing world that we see in front of us. Simone, it's so great to talk to you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. We got to get you back on and talk some more about this here soon.
Yeah, I love that. Have a great weekend.
You as well. Appreciate it. Great stuff. Great information. Great topic. I love it. We'll do that again coming up here again soon. Right around the corner next week, we got a lot more to get to. We have some more elected officials. We have the debt ceiling we need to discuss and some others as well. Until then, though, enjoy the weekend. The Grammys apparently are this weekend. I won't be watching because all the music there kind of stinks. But nonetheless, we'll represent. Maybe we'll have our own Grammys here on the show. Like real metal, real rock. Sorry, but Machine Gun Kelly is not rock and roll or metal. Just throwing that out there. Until then, be your own voice of reason. Be that catalyst for change. We'll see you on the radio next week. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own voice of reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.